I have a phone number for him.
Unlock this door now.
No, I'm not going to unlock. You
open the door now. Let's go. Now the car. Oh shit! Stop it.
Go ahead, dude. I didn't do anything.
Stop moving. Stop moving. Stop moving.
I'll do it for you.
Okay, let's take him forward and then we'll
Don't get in my car. What are you guys doing? What's this? They're jerking me out of the fucking car. Get out. Don't get me out of the car. All right, I'm getting out. All right, I'm getting out. Look, I got you. All right. Well, I'm not jerking around.
Strap in, because this one's a wild ride. A man who eliminated his co-worker because she refused to date him is set for sentencing. The video introduction provides an overview of the criminal complaint and sets the stage for a detailed discussion on workplace violence with expert Dan Murphy.
A man who shot his co-worker to death because she wouldn't go on a date with him is going to prison. We've got to look at the criminal complaint that led to trial as the killer awaits sentencing, and we're going to discuss it all with Dan Murphy, a retired NYPD detective who co-authored a book about violence in the workplace.
Here's where things get absolutely bananas. Michael Carpenter, age 38, shot 28-year-old Nicole Hammond outside their workplace in St. Cloud, Minnesota. The incident occurred early in the morning before work hours. This segment describes the scene shortly after the elimination, with police finding Nicole severely wounded.
And tragically, for one woman in Minnesota who rejected a co-worker's advances, he ended up killing her. 38-year-old Michael Carpenter shot 28-year-old Nicole Hammond, who went by Nikki, in October of 2022 outside the textile company where they both worked in St. Cloud, Minnesota. According to the criminal complaint, the shooting happened early in the morning. This was just before 7 a.m. St. Cloud police responded to a 911 call of shots fired, and they found Nikki in the parking lot. She was laying with a puddle of blood around her head.
You might want to sit down for this part. A co-worker witnessed Carpenter in the parking lot moments before hearing a gunshot. The police were called to the scene, where they attempted life-saving measures on Nicole, but she succumbed to her injuries. This part highlights the immediate aftermath and the collection of crucial evidence at the scene.
A witness on scene told police he actually saw Carpenter in the lot. Quote, one employee of the business, Witness X, stated they had pulled into the parking lot and observed a co-worker known as the defendant, Michael Jordan Carpenter, leave his vehicle and walk toward the south end of the parking lot. Witness X states as they got out of their vehicle, they heard a gunshot coming from the south. Witness X observed the defendant jog to his vehicle, which he entered, and then drove away.
Get ready for some expert insights that'll knock your socks off. Dan Murphy, a retired NYPD detective and co-author of a book on workplace violence, joins the discussion. He introduces his background and expertise, setting the context for analyzing the elimination within the broader issue of safety and violence in workplaces.
But I want to bring in a special guest right now. I'm joined by Dan Murphy, retired NYPD detective, and he co-authored the book, unfortunately very apropos about what we're talking about here, Workplace Safety, Establishing an Effective Violence Prevention Program. Dan, thanks so much for coming on. Before we even dive into this case specifically, talk to us about the book. How'd you even get involved in writing this specifically?
Good morning, Jesse. Well, the book itself was a collaboration between myself and a colleague, Randy Ferris. We had worked together for years on the assessment and management of cases within our larger organization.
This next segment really turns up the heat on the story. The discussion delves into the background and behavior of Michael Carpenter, noting his repeated advances towards Nicole and his known bad temper. This segment emphasizes the importance of recognizing and addressing early warning signs of potential violence.
Yeah. Well, that's right. Let me rephrase. Yeah, from New York, but live there now. So I'm sure this case kind of affects you a little bit differently. But I want to go through this, going back to this document. So it says, quote, in searching victim A's phone, officers came across numerous text messages between victim A and the defendant from the night prior, indicating victim A did not want to be touched by the defendant, nor did she want to be manipulated by him. She also informed him to not make things uncomfortable at work. Officers also found a text message from victim A to another person stating that the defendant was mad at her. It goes on to say, in speaking with various co-workers, they indicated that the defendant had made numerous advances toward victim A, but his advances had been repeatedly rebuffed over the course of the past month. Co-workers also described the defendant as having a bad. That is very illuminating, Dan, because you now have this idea that it wasn't just a one-off. People saw this.
And now, the plot thickens. Police obtained a warrant, searched Carpenter's car, and found a 9mm pistol vehicle along with evidence directly linking him to the eliminated scene. Carpenter was arrested at his sister's home, still wearing the same clothes he had on during the violent event. This part details the police's efforts in consolidating evidence for the case.
Now, going back to the case here, so the officers, they get a warrant, they search Carpenter's car, they find a 9mm pistol and a loaded magazine in a carrying case in the back seat, and officers also found one round in the chamber, and the style and brand of the bullets matched the shell casing that was found next to Nikki. Officers end up arresting Carpenter at his sister's home. He was still wearing the same clothes that witnesses said that he'd been wearing in the parking lot at the time of the shooting. So now you're seeing the evidence just adding up against him. And when police spoke with Carpenter, he denied shooting Nikki, but he said he was in the parking lot when this happened.
Hold on to your popcorn, because this trial is a roller coaster. The segment covers the trial, where Carpenter was found guilty of both first-degree premeditated elimination and second-degree intentional horrible crime. The involvement of State Attorney General Keith Ellison due to the case's severity is highlighted, along with the legal proceedings leading to the conviction.
Now, here's what's really interesting about the prosecution of this case. The state's Attorney General, Keith Ellison, actually stepped in to help Benton County with this prosecution because there's a Minnesota statute that says, upon request of the county attorney, the Attorney General shall appear in court in such criminal cases as the Attorney General deems proper. And on Friday, a jury found Carpenter guilty of first-degree premeditated murder and second-degree intentional murder. After the verdict, Attorney General Ellison said, "I accepted this case because under the law, it is my job to assist our county attorneys when they ask for help. Minnesotans in every corner of our state deserve equal justice, and my office is here to help provide it." In Minnesota, first-degree premeditated murder carries a mandatory life sentence without the possibility of parole in Carpenter's.
Prosecutors in California allege that Claudia Hernandez and her family members orchestrated the death of her 3-year-old daughter, Aurelie Naomi Proctor, under the guise of an exorcism aimed at driving out a demon. This segment lays the groundwork for our exploration into this deeply disturbing case.
Prosecutors in California are trying to keep a woman locked up after they say she tortured and killed her 3-year-old daughter during an alleged exorcism. We're digging into this very bizarre and brutal case as the state seeks to keep Claudia Hernandez and 2 members of her family away from the public. Plus, what the defendant herself had to say about the toddler after her gruesome death. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime.
The segment details how Claudia Hernandez, her father and brother, both named Rene Hernandez, carried out what they believed was an exorcism in a makeshift church setting. They subjected little Aurelie to a harrowing 20 hours of violent methods, ultimately leading to her death by asphyxiation, as noted in the coroner's findings, which highlighted extensive injuries like brain swelling and internal bleeding.
Because Hernandez's father, Rene Hernandez, was the pastor of that church. And Hernandez and her brother, who's also named Rene Hernandez, allegedly took Aurelie to the church. According to court documents, the 3 family members held Aurelie down for approximately 20 hours, torturing her by grabbing her neck, torso, back, legs, all of this allegedly to expel the demon. And sadly, as a result of all of this, prosecutors say Aurelie died. A coroner's report determined that Aurelie died from asphyxiation and had blood in her lungs, that she had brain swelling, that she had injuries on her neck and inside of her mouth.
The video delves into the alarming absence of remorse shown by Claudia Hernandez and discusses whether an insanity defense could be on the table given the circumstances. This segment unpacks the challenges and peculiarities of such a legal defense, showing just how tough it can be to establish in court.
The prosecutor has said that Hernandez has shown zero remorse, because she still believes she did nothing wrong. Now, that, of course, begs the question, from a legal point of view, could the insanity defense be on the table? Now, we have talked before about how rare it is for that to work. Obviously, because if it were readily available and accessible, defendants would constantly use it as a way to get out of prison time.
Shortly before her arrest in January 2022, Claudia posted a lengthy 45-minute video online. In it, she reminisces about her daughter, oscillating between apparent grief and unsettling indifference about the tragic events.
January 2022, just days before she was arrested, Hernandez seemingly posted a video online about her daughter. During the 45-minute video, Hernandez seems to recount memories of Aurelie from the time she was conceived until her death. At times, she appears to be holding back tears, but then there are other times where it almost seems like she makes light of what happened.
It's so hard now, because going from having her every day to not having her at all, it's so hard. It's hard, and to think that I'm not gonna see her grow up, like how I thought that I was gonna see her grow up, but it's okay. it's okay, because I know she's in a better place, you know, and God knows why he allows these things, you know.
Claudia Hernandez, her brother, and father find themselves facing a felony count of assault on a child causing death, with a potential sentence of up to 25 years to life if convicted. This segment clarifies why they weren't charged with eliminating, hinting at nuances in proving intent or premeditation.
Okay, if what prosecutors are alleging is true, it is an incredibly disturbing reaction to the death of your own 3-year-old child. 26-year-old Hernandez, her 20-year-old brother, and her 60-year-old father were each charged with one felony count of assault on a child younger than 8 causing death. The court ruled all 3 will be held without bail until their trial, and if convicted, they each face 25 years to life in prison. Now, as an aside, we couldn't confirm why the trio were not charged with murder when you're talking about potentially life in prison. Perhaps at this point in time, prosecutors don't believe that the case rises to the level of an intentional or premeditated killing. Maybe that's what's going on here.
The state's holding order memorandum reveals the gruesome details of Areli's prolonged assault, showcasing the brutal nature of the attack as described in court documents. It's a tough listen, but crucial for understanding the severity of the case.
Okay, so now let's dig into some of these court documents, because as I said, the state was making sure that these 3 would not be released into the public, right? And so the state, and they clearly won, they're going to be locked up, as I said, until trial, but the state's holding order memorandum is what we want to get into, and it explains what the state believes happened based on testimony given at a preliminary hearing. And it really goes into detail, and I warn you, it is incredibly tough to hear, but important to hear nonetheless.
Things just got a whole lot creepier. In this section, the focus shifts to Hernandez's conviction that her daughter was possessed, evidenced by changes in Areli's behavior and appearance, which she took as signs of demonic possession. It's a dark and twisted turn in the story, setting the stage for even more unsettling revelations.
Another officer took Claudia to what's called the Witness Center and was comforting her. As part of the filing reads, quote, Claudia said Areli changed at night. The first noticeable change was when Areli was demanding her shirt and went to the closet and threw all of her shirts out. Claudia said Areli's scream was so hard she thought it was not her. While Areli was in the shower, Claudia described that her eyes looked different. Claudia told Areli she loved her, and Areli did not say anything back. Areli then fell asleep very fast. Claudia said she never does that. Hernandez said later in the statement that Areli always slept on her side, but that night she slept on her back. It's fascinating to hear her trying to find these little points of difference.
You won't believe what they believed. Interviews conducted after the event with Claudia Hernandez and her family members expose a chilling belief system surrounding demonic possession and exorcism, complicating the narrative further and displaying their deep convictions about their actions. Just when you think it can't get any more bizarre, we delve into their alarming discussions and justifications.
During one of the interviews with Renee Jr., he told the detective that he believed he was given the gift of tongues and the gift of healing, all from God. Quote, he described what they did to Areli as an exorcism. He said he had previously done 2, but he had never done an exorcism on a child. Renee Sr. was also interviewed in the weeks and months after Areli's death. He openly admitted to being in the room during the prayer ceremony, but said it was not an exorcism, so kind of seeing a little bit of a difference here between these co-defendants. Quote, when he arrived, they told him that Areli had an evil spirit. Claudia told him that the girl was going to die. He said Claudia had already bought everything because she knew God was going to take her.
The officer's dedication is truly remarkable. An officer discusses his career trajectory in law enforcement, explaining his initial plans to only work in the jail for a few years, but ended up staying because he enjoyed the controlled environment and the opportunities available within the jail system.
I wanted to get into law enforcement. I put myself through the academy. Once I got into the jail, I found I really liked it. There were a lot of opportunities here, and I like being in a controlled environment where I know what's going on, and that's what's kept me here inside of the jail.
The tension starts building here. A prisoner at the intake area of the jail is handcuffed to a bench and begins pulling against the handcuffs, risking injury to his wrists. The officers note his behavior and discuss the necessity to potentially use further restraints to prevent him from harming himself, mentioning a specific restraint system called the bodyguard.
It's your charges. Go ahead, dude. I didn't do anything.
He's handcuffed to our intake bench waiting to be searched, starting to injure his wrists. So if he doesn't stop, we're going to have to restrain him further. What we'll do is we'll put him in what we call the bodyguard restraint system.
Things take a turn for the intense here. The prisoner is visibly struggling and vocally resisting, telling the officers he will not hurt them but pleading for them not to harm him. Officers respond by saying they need to adjust his handcuffs to ensure he does not injure himself further.
Stop moving! Stop moving! So I'm just gonna
Stop moving. I'll do it for you.
Okay, let's take him forward and then we'll
On your stomach.
Whoa, let me get to my knees,
kneel
please.
down. Okay. There you go.
You can feel the officer's concern here. After restraining the prisoner with the bodyguard due to his attempts to bite himself and pull his legs through handcuffs, officers discuss the system's safety benefits. They express hope that the restraint will help calm him down and prevent further self-injury.
We ended up putting him into the bodyguard restraint system. Pulled his legs through the handcuffs while he was sitting on the bodyguard restraint system. It keeps them in a sitting position where they can breathe. And then we'll give him a chance to sober up and finish processing. There's your cuffs back.
Watch how the officer's strategy shifts. Later, officers decide to reassess the situation as the man seems overly agitated by the restraint. They plan to talk to him and possibly remove the restraint if he shows signs of calming down.
We're gonna go talk to Glenn, see if we can get him to calm down. Hey, Glenn?
I've been locked up for 6 hours.
Glenn,
I can't move.
if we take
I
this,
can't breathe.
we take this off of you, will you calm down? And
That's what I'm saying.
The change here is palpable. The officers begin to remove the bodyguard restraint system from the prisoner, starting with the chest harness and eventually removing leg wraps. They instruct him to remain calm and cooperative throughout the process.
okay, relax. Let's get you out, okay? But let's take the bodyguard off. Let's start with the chest harness.
Thank you so much. I just want this face thing off.
We'll take that off last.
This reflection brings a new perspective. The officers reflect on the effectiveness of the restraint, acknowledging that while it seemed necessary at the time, it agitated the prisoner more than it helped. They look forward to him calming down now that the restraint is removed.
We successfully got him out of the bodyguard restraint. He was in the bodyguard restraint for a total of 34 minutes. Hopefully now, without the bodyguard restraint on, he'll be able to calm down a little bit.
The frustration is clear in his voice. Another prisoner, Matthew, describes his recent altercation where he defended himself after being attacked. He expresses frustration over being arrested for disorderly conduct when he felt he was the victim.
I just came to Austin 2 days ago. I went to Saturday night for the first time. Dude hit me in the back of my head. I turned around, started fighting for my self-defense. Bang! I got arrested.
Come on, Matthew.
My left hand got my pants.
This way.
Matthew's plea for fairness is compelling. Matthew argues with the booking officer about the injustice of his situation, explaining how he was defending himself when police intervened. The officer advises him that he can discuss the matter with someone once he is released.
Look, you can handcuff me behind my back. I'll be calm. But what I'm saying is, and I'm getting my face stomped in, and I start defending myself, they put me in a cell. I understand that. But what I'm saying is, could I talk to someone?
We're trying to get you out of here as fast as possible.
How long does that take?
4 to 6 hours, possibly.
4 to 6 hours?
4 to 6 hours.
I don't care about that. Go ahead, close the door. I'll lay down and go to sleep.
Thank you.
As the day progresses, tensions don't ease. The video concludes with another incident involving Matthew, where he gets into a fight in the holding cell, leading to further complications. Officers manage the situation, ensuring no further harm comes to anyone involved.
I mean, what happened where he did that? Because he's not even the type.
He walked up to me. I went like this. He pushed me. I went like
And this is the outcome, man. You just gotta... No, it's not. Go ahead, sit down. He gets into a fight and holding cell 516 with another inmate. He'll be in a cell probably until he's released.
Buckle up for this wild story. Mike Maiden is introduced as the father accused of spiking smoothies with sedatives at his daughter's sleepover. Prosecutors allege he specifically targeted the event to administer these substances. He faces multiple charges in Oregon for his actions.
Mike Maiden faces a number of charges in Oregon. Prosecutors say he mixed sedatives in mango smoothies that he made for his daughter's friends at a sleepover. The details in a search warrant affidavit are disturbing. Investigators claim Maiden arranged all of the activities for this sleepover last August, taking the girls to get their nails done, ordering them pizza, and then dictating their activities at his home. Then detectives say Maiden made mango smoothies for the 4 girls.
Next up, an eyebrow-raising moment. A pivotal turn occurs when one of the girls grows suspicious of Maiden's unsettling behavior. She noticed that Maiden was overly attentive to whether the girls had fallen asleep, even going as far as to physically check if one girl was awake. Disturbed by his actions, she texts her mother to urgently pick her up, citing a family emergency.
Thank goodness. One of those girls became suspicious. She described cuddling with one of her friends and said Maiden came to the basement a couple of times and actually took her arm from around her friend. One time, he put his finger under her nose to see if she was sound asleep. The girl texted her mom, "Please pick me up," and say I had a family emergency. I don't feel safe. I might not respond, but please come get me. Please, please pick up. Please, please. The girl then texted a family friend who came to get her.
Hold on to your popcorn, because this part is shocking. The aftermath of the event is uncovered as all the girls involved in the sleepover are found to have benzodiazepines in their systems after being tested at a hospital. These sedatives are known for their use in treating conditions like anxiety and muscle spasms, highlighting the severity of the substances used.
Detectives say the girls tested positive for benzodiazepines at the hospital. Those are sedatives that can be used to reduce anxiety, muscle spasms, and reduce seizures. For his part, Mike Maiden has pleaded not guilty to a laundry list of felony and misdemeanor charges, including causing another person to ingest a controlled substance. His lawyer, Mark Cogan, saying, Mr. Maiden is presumed innocent, and we hope that people will reserve judgment until all of the facts and circumstances are known.
You can't make this stuff up. Chris Hansen, a crime analyst, dives into the severity of the case, emphasizing the premeditated nature of Maiden's actions. He outlines the systematic approach Maiden took in arranging the sleepover, including activities designed to win the trust of the young girls, before drugging them in what is described as an initiation of a intimate.
Well, it's disturbing on so many different levels, Anjanette, and you know, it starts with the grooming process. I mean, here you've got a guy who has plotted this sleepover. He's had calls with the parents of the other girl. His wife apparently doesn't speak English, so he's controlled this entire event, taken them for manicures, all the things that young girls like to do, and then, according to the criminal complaint, drug them.
Are you still with us? This discussion is a tough one to digest. It explores the deep implications of the case on the victims and their future interactions. It's noted how such traumatic experiences can lead to overprotective behavior from parents, fundamentally changing how these girls will engage in social activities like sleepovers in the future.
Well, truly one of the most disturbing cases I've ever seen. And to add to it, you've got the fact that he talked to each and every one of these parents. These parents did their due diligence. This wasn't just drop their daughter off at some sleepover where they didn't have a lengthy discussion with the parent of the child hosting the sleepover. There were a lot of discussions here. Promises were made, guarantees were made that these kids were going to be safe, that they were going to be chaperoned. And then at the end of the day, it was the victims, the young girls at the sleepover themselves, who were desperately texting their parents and friends of the family to come get them because they were afraid. This guy is creeping around and putting his finger under their nose to see if they're sleeping or awake. He's drugged them with anti-anxiety medication, according to the complaint. And God knows what could have happened.
And now for something equally crucial. This segment highlights the essential role of emergency room staff in identifying and responding to the situation. Their quick action in testing the girls and confirming the presence of drugs is crucial in enabling law enforcement to build a case against Maiden, emphasizing the importance of medical professionals in handling such sensitive cases.
She texts the family friend who's like, I will be right there.
Right.
They go back and they get the other kids and they take them to the ER and they get them tested and they find these drugs in their system.
And one other thing that's important to note here, in these horrific cases where kids are victimized or preyed upon, oftentimes online and traditional social media platforms, it is this trip to the emergency room and the skilled nurses and first responders in that emergency room who often get to the bottom of this story, this crime, and it leads to successful prosecution.
Wrapping things up, but there's more to ponder. The conclusion brings to light the broader implications for parental vigilance. The commentator underscores the importance of maintaining open lines of communication with children about their experiences and ensuring they feel safe to report any discomfort during social interactions, especially in unfamiliar environments.
Very disturbing. And again, what I hope parents take away from this is to continue to create and nurture this dialogue with their children. Weird things are out there. There are adults online and sadly in person who like to trick kids. You need to be aware of this. Kids don't like to be tricked. If you sense you're being tricked, come talk to me and together we'll deal with it.
Just when you thought traffic stops were straightforward, enter a blue Ford truck with a tag that looks like it's from another planet. An officer spots the truck. Its tag declaring post the Union Treaty G Convention neutral zone transport vehicle, and he's understandably puzzled. No idea what that tag means. He calls for backup.
It's gonna be a Howland and Catalina. It's a blue Ford truck displaying some kind of sovereign citizen looking tag. Can you start us a second, please? Post the Union Treaty. Geneva Convention neutral zone transport vehicle. That's not You know what the flag upside down means? It's a sign of distress.
Buckle up for a bumpy conversation. The officer walks up to the driver to explain the stop was due to the funky tag. He asks for the usual paperwork, and instead, the driver hands over a stack of documents that might as well be a magician's deck of cards. Nothing up his sleeve except more confusion. It's clear this isn't your typical traffic stop.
Hey boss, how you doing? Not too bad, Deputy of the Sheriff's Office. Hey, so the reason why I'm stopping you, boss, I didn't recognize the tag that was on your vehicle.
Yeah.
Okay, do you have your driver's license registration with you?
Here you go. I got the paper. Where's the paperwork at, Michelle? All right.
It's where?
Yeah, let me see.
It's on speaker.
Yeah, good.
Oh, it gets better. Now the officer, trying to cut through the fog, asks for a driver's license. The driver cracks his window just a smidge, handing over more puzzling paperwork. Still no license in sight. It's like a treasure hunt, but the treasure is super elusive.
Okay, where's your driver's license, boss?
That's what. No, I don't need my window down.
I'm sorry. So, do you have a driver's license?
Yeah, we're right there.
Okay, what's your name, boss? I don't see your name on here. Can you point it to me?
Yeah.
Okay, that's not how this works. Where's your name at?
I'm just giving him the paperwork. Okay. Here, you talk to him then.
Now things take a turn into the twilight zone. The officer explains to his colleague that the tag is a mystery with no match in any state database, hinting the vehicle might just be as unregistered as a UFO, and the driver, still playing games with his stack of mystery papers instead of showing a driver's license.
No, I just want to check it. Ma'am, so this is what's going on. The tag on his vehicle does not appear like it's proper back to any state. So it appears the vehicle is unregistered. Then on top of that, I come up here, I'm asking for his identification documents, and he's handing me a stack of the papers instead of a driver's license. So I'm concerned he might be driving without a driver's license, and his vehicle might be unregistered.
Are we in a comedy sketch? The driver introduces himself as the postmaster of nowhere in particular, handing out titles instead of a name. The officers are trying not to step into an alternate reality, but it's hard when your suspect claims diplomatic immunity from planet Earth.
Well, that's fine. He doesn't necessarily have to talk to me, but he does have to obey my lawful commands.
Just when you thought we might find some normalcy, nope, the officer doubles down, checks the VIN, and confirms the vehicle might as well be invisible to any state system. He asks again for any kind of driver's license, and again, the driver dodges with vagueness.
All right, sir, this is kind of where we're at. So I checked the...
Hang on, Michelle. Hang on, Michelle.
So this is kind of where we're at. So I checked the VIN. The car is currently, looks like it's unregistered. If you don't have, do you have a Florida driver's license or a driver's license out of another state that I can check to ensure that you're a licensed driver?
Right there's all I got.
Okay, well, there's a problem. So I tried to search you up under this. I can't find anybody, I can't find you. So if I can't verify that you have a valid driver's license, then how am I supposed to let you drive off?
The mystery deepens as the driver claims he's ditched all forms of ID for a life of anonymity, mentioning a past life in Colorado. It's like trying to nail jelly to a wall, getting this guy to give a straight answer, but the officers aren't giving up just yet.
Well, because he's got it right here, he's got the paperwork in his hand.
All we're trying to do is just identify it, that's it, and then send you on your way. Is that your last name?
Yep.
Okay, is your ID through Florida? What state is it from? What state is it from?
She's coming to talk to me.
That's fine. What state is your ID from?
I don't have an ID. I was surrendering my ID and my birth certificate and everything.
When you used to have an ID, what state was it from?
Colorado.
Colorado?
Yeah.
Okay, what's that?
It won't register because it...
That's fine. I don't need her, actually, and she's not going to come over here.
Yeah.
What is your date of birth?
Right there. Everything's right there.
No, not everything is right here.
Things are heating up now. The officer, losing patience, firmly requests the driver to step out of the vehicle. The driver isn't thrilled, resisting the idea as if the car has its own gravitational pull. It's a standoff, and not the OK Corral kind.
Not at all.
All this, I know.
Destry, hop on out.
I'm not. Why do I need to get out of my car? Have I done something wrong? Wait, whoa. Before you drag me out of the car, what have I done?
Hop out of the car.
I've done something wrong.
You're failing to identify yourself?
That's not a law. That's not a misdemeanor. It's not a law.
And now, for the grand finale of this circus, the driver shouts about illegal searches as the officers attempt to physically coax him out of his mobile fortress. It's an intense tug of war, with the driver putting up a fight that would rival a sitcom finale.
Don't get in my car. What are you guys doing? What's this? They're jerking me out of the fucking car.
Get out.
Don't get me out of the car. All right, I'm getting out. I'm getting out. You guys are jerking me around. You guys are jerking me around.
Look over. I got you.
All right. Well, I'm not jerking around.
Now you're under arrest, buddy.
Damn.
Okay. Do you want to talk to him or not? If not, we're going to get him out of here. We're trying to give you the keys. Hey, what?
Hey, watch your bag. Myself, because I have a phone number for him.
Unlock this door now.
No, I'm not going to unlock. You.
Get out.
We breaking it?
Open the door. No. Yes, so. Now get out.
Where's that?
Get out.
Get out of the car.
Oh, shit. Stop it.
Can you even grasp what's unfolding here? The video kicks off with the major life upheavals that are about to smack Ruby Franca and Jody Hildebrand right in the face after their conviction for aggravated child violence. They went from tight-lipped with the cops to guilty pleas faster than you can say drama. This intro primes us for a deep dive into their impending life changes behind bars.
I expect a major shock to the system for both Frankie and Hildebrand.
A major life change for now convicted child abusers Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand. From refusing to speak with cops to guilty pleas on all counts.
The sentence will be that Ms. Frankie serve 4 counts, 1 to 15-year sentences based on her convictions for 4 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Seriously, talk about a plummet from grace. This slice of the video delves into Ruby Franca's epic nosedive from a beloved YouTuber, managing a thriving channel called 8 Passengers, to becoming infamous for reasons no one wants. Her channel, once a bustling hub with over 2 million followers, is now a ghost town. Watch how fame turns to infamy, and don't blink because the shift is nothing short of cinematic.
We're taking a look inside prison life for Ruby Frankie and Jody Hildebrand.
It's going to be a culture shock for them because you have no privacy, no intimacy.
For years, Ruby Frankie was known for her YouTube channel, 8 Passengers, that chronicled her life along with her husband Kevin and their 6 kids. The channel once boasted more than 2 million followers.
Grab the tissues. This is a tearjerker. We rewind to a pivotal moment when Ruby's 12-year-old son, bearing the scars of violence, bravely escapes and seeks help, blowing the lid off the hidden horrors at home. This breakthrough not only exposes the severe violence, but also catapults Ruby and Jody right into the hands of the law. His courage is the linchpin in this saga.
He's emaciated, he's got tape around his legs, he's hungry, and he's thirsty.
On August 30th, 2023, Ruby's then 12-year-old son broke free from duct tape shackles and ran for help. He was emaciated and had open wounds on his wrists and ankles. Newly released Ring security video shows the boy approach a neighbor's home.
Hi, I was wondering if you could do 2 favors.
Well, what are they?
Taking me to the nearest police station. Well, actually, just one's fine.
You won't believe how deep this rabbit hole goes. Here, we get into the gritty details of the psychological and physical torment endured by Ruby's kids, masterminded by her and her accomplice, Jody. The evidence of their cruelty comes to light, prompting swift legal repercussions. It paints a grim picture of prolonged suffering.
We now know the boy and his younger sister endured months of psychological and physical abuse, all at the hands of their mother, Ruby Frankie, and her friend Jody Hildebrand. At the time of their rescue, the kids were staying at Jody's home in Ivins, Utah.
No, I'm not going to step out of
Step out of the house. Step out of the house.
Whoa.
We're just going to sit in the office. You're in the office.
Wait a minute, how do you come to my house?
Right there.
Both Jody and Ruby were initially charged with 6 counts of aggravated child abuse.
Listen to Ruby's own melodramatic monologue in court. In this segment, Ruby Franca tries to tug at the heartstrings during her sentencing, painting herself as a misguided guardian who veered way off course. She aims for sympathy, portraying a chaotic spiral into darkness while desperately trying to shield her kids. It's a theatrical attempt to soften the harsh reality of her actions.
Law and Crime Network was in the courtroom for the sentencing hearing of both women.
To my babies, my 6 little chicks, you were a part of me. I was the mama duck who was consistently watering you to safety. I can see now. Over the past 4 years, I was in a deep undercurrent that led us to danger. I never launched into darkness knowingly. I was so disoriented that I believed dark was light and right was wrong.
Things just got real. Sentencing time. This part covers the heavy hammer of justice as it comes crashing down on Ruby and Jody, slapping them with up to 15 years in the slammer. The segment highlights the stark contrast between their cushy past lives and the stark realities of prison life, where privacy is a myth and freedom a memory. They're about to step into a whole new world of prison culture shock.
According to public defender Natalie Whittingham-Burrell, time behind bars will be much different than anything Ruby or Jody has experienced before.
You come from the type of wealth and opulence that Jody Hildebrand is particularly used to, and then we know that Ruby Franke built herself up a kind of media empire with 8 passengers. It's going to be a culture shock for them because you have no privacy, no intimacy. All of your private areas are for inspection and review, and then you've got a cellmate and things like that. So that's usually a big shock and adjustment for many people. And jails are noisy and smelly, so they're not the best places to be in.
Think it's over? Just a change of scenery. After the gavel dropped, Ruby and Jody got shipped off to a different correctional facility, trading their brief jail stint for the long haul in prison. Here, the discussion shifts to the nitty-gritty of prison life, which is leagues more restrictive than jail. This move marks the grim start of a new chapter.
Like religious texts and things of that nature. Sometimes they'll be able to bring that.
After their arrests, Ruby and Jody were booked into jail at the Purgatory Correctional Facility. But after their sentencing, they were moved to a different Utah Department of Corrections facility. Even that move is a drastic change. Would it be a big transition from their time in jail the past 6-ish months and now them serving a prison sentence?
Yeah, so prisons tend to be more restrictive and authoritarian than jails are because jails are supposed to really be a temporary stay. And most people are not in a jail unless they're being held pretrial for a long time. And most people are not in a jail for more than a year or two. So prison is long-term stay.
Isolation is the name of the game now. The focus shifts to how Ruby and Jody are kept from colluding further, with the prison system putting a firm wedge between them. Even as co-conspirators, the system ensures they can't brew any more trouble together. This strategic isolation is crucial for keeping the peace.
We didn't say a whole lot. I mean, we talked the whole time, but I don't remember really saying a whole lot. We sang hummed a couple hymns, and she was still justifying the whole time. She's like, don't worry, we'll have our day in court. And then when we were booked in, they put us in separate cells, and we've been in separate cells ever since.
But Whittingham-Burrell says it is possible that Ruby and Jody run into each other on the inside.
Yeah, so it is possible that they could run into each other. That's usually not as likely, though, in prison. So the fact that it didn't happen at all in jail is really because they were pretrial. They didn't want them talking to each other, but they're not going to want them to interact with each other in the prison either.
This next part might just redefine your view of prison politics. We dive into the potential social dynamics awaiting Ruby and Jody in the clink, where their past crimes make them pariahs among their peers. The discussion explores how their highfalutin background and manipulative personalities might clash with or conform to prison life. It's a primer on the complex social weave of prison culture.
Is it possible that some of the inmates already in prison now know Ruby and Jody and what they've done?
Oh, it's highly possible. I'm almost convinced that the inmates will, if they don't already, they will find out. Usually they do what they're charged with or what they've been convicted of and pled guilty to, and that's not good for prison. Because people that are convicted of abusing children tend to get it the worst in prison.
Every move they make, every step they take, we'll be watching them. As they settle into their new, less than cozy digs, Ruby and Jody's every action is under a microscope, with potential impacts on their chances for parole. The segment discusses how their behavior could either pave their way to early release or seal their fate. It's a critical look at how they navigate prison rules and regs.
Ahead of any parole hearings, Whittingham-Burrell says both women will be monitored. So is somebody going to be keeping tabs on both Ruby Franke and Jody Hildebrand to kind of monitor what they're up to?
Absolutely. Prisons and jails keep meticulous notes of inmate behavior, and that is to include commendations for, oh, this person worked in the kitchen, or they volunteered to teach people how to read, or something like that. That can get you extra bonus points. It can get you good time credits. It can get you good consideration with the parole board. But if you're someone who gets into fights, gets infractions, they have their own kind of court system in prisons and jails where you can internally be brought up on charges, internally have hearings. Those type of things are all documented and communicated to the parole board.